Today, I'm going to talk about the first Egyptian women to be executed by the modern state of Egypt. Almost a century ago, 2 women were sentenced to death, raising debate among Egyptians on whether it was appropriate to execute women. Today, it's hard to find any Egyptian who has never heard of Rayya and Sakina, Egypt's most famous serial killers, who cast terror into the heart of the people of Alexandria in the early days of the 20th century, just after World War I. Rayya and Sakina were 2 sisters who hailed from a small village in Upper Egypt before moving to the coastal city of Alexandria. Rayya was born in 1875, while Sakina was born in about 1885. Their father died at a young age. Rayya then married Hasab Allah Said Maray and gave birth to a child named Badia, and another child who died shortly after his birth. Then Sakina and her new husband decided to move to Alexandria to live in the Labban neighborhood in around 1913. Her sister Rayya followed her with her family. Sakina divorced her husband and married Muhammad Abdul Al, who was her neighbor at the time. With the painfully slow economic conditions faced by the region during the First World War and the spread of unemployment and poverty, the family turned to illegal work and secret prostitution, then began to think about stealing gold jewelry and then burying it in a hidden way that leaves no trace. The 2 sisters, with the help of their husbands and 2 other men, killed 17 women in the Labban district of Alexandria over a period of 2 years starting in 1919. To begin with, the sisters had a really bad reputation due to their involvement in prostitution, since prostitution was legal under British rule. Rayya and Sakina managed to open several brothels. Their gang was made up of 6 people who managed to kill their victims without being caught, despite committing their crimes in houses surrounding a police station. The police in Alexandria received numerous reports of disappearances of individuals. All the reports had something in common. The missing people were all women, and they were all wearing expensive gold jewelry. Many of the reports also mentioned that the missing women were last seen with either one or both of the sisters. Back then, women committing a crime was something that was unheard of. The fact that the sisters were seen with some of the victims was not sufficient evidence for the police to consider them to be strong suspects. With the increasing number of reports, they were questioned, but everyone still failed to confirm their involvement in the disappearances. The discovery of the remains of Rayya and Sakina's victims happened by chance. In December 1920, a police officer discovered human remains on the side of the road near the sisters' residence. The completely dismembered body was damaged beyond recognition, except for its long braided black hair. In the same month, a landlord of a house that was previously rented by Sakina reported finding human remains beneath his floor while digging to fix a water pipe. The police officer removed the tiles from the floor and found 2 bodies. A short while later, a police officer noticed an exceptionally strong scent of incense coming out of Rayya's house on a daily basis. When asked about it, she replied that she is simply trying to get rid of the smell of the brutal customers, as they would drink alcohol and smoke inside her establishment. Her answer made the officer even more suspicious, and he noticed that the floor tiles in a certain part of the house were newer than the rest of it. The new tiles were removed, and at once the smell of decomposed bodies rose from below. After digging deeper, corpses of 2 women and remains of the 3rd were discovered. Shortly after that incident, the police decided to search all of the houses that Rayya and Sakina had previously rented and lived in, and found the remains of a total of 17 women. The crime scenes involved 4 houses in the Labban district. After arresting the members of the gang, The police were able to secure confessions from all involved. Rayya's 9-year-old daughter, Badia, was a key witness in the investigation and confessed to seeing her family members suffocating women and burying them under the floor of their houses, where they would sit down, eat, and carry on their lives as if nothing ever happened. It's also worth mentioning that at the time, there was no record of murderers burying their victims under their houses. And finally, after 2 years of reported disappearances of women, the police built a detailed picture of how the merciless criminals operated. The fact that 2 women were leading the murders had crowds puzzled, shuddering and horrified that Egyptian women could be capable of such horrendous atrocities. After a month of trial on May 16, 1921, the death sentence was passed against the 6 gang members, Rayya and Sakina, their husbands, Hasaballah and Abdul Al, and their guards, Arabi and Abdul Razak. The goldsmith who purchased jewellery of the victims from the gang was also sentenced to 5 years in prison. On December 21, 1921, the 2 sisters were executed by hanging. They donned red execution garments, which were especially tailored for them, as they were the first females to be handed with a death sentence in modern Egypt. The following day, their husbands were executed. The story of the gang inspired many films, miniseries, and theater plays. These days, many Egyptian and Arab tourists continue to visit the Labban area to see Rayya and Sakina's home and the neighboring old police station where the initial investigations took place. Thank you for watching.